If you went to bed and suddenly gained a fillion followers, it's a good one.
Dear Hollywood, the truth about influencers and brand deals.
All right. This is gonna get a little spicy and maybe risk my job, but I want to explain the inside scoop on influencers and brand deals. I'm also gonna pose several ethical questions around being a pawn on a capitalist chessboard, especially if it's a kid who's the mouthpiece for a corporate marketing campaign. And of course, we'll look at kid influencers, family vloggers, and what it means for new generations to be growing up in public. First, what is your honest opinion of seeing #sponsored content from influencers? If it's something you like, do you try the product? Do you instantly skip the ad? What's your general response to the way social media has become so saturated with corporate advertising? Well, here's a little bit about how it feels from the inside as an influencer. And if you missed the previous episode, definitely watch that first because it lays the foundation for this. Just like actors are mostly auditioning back to back with no job or paycheck, influencers are typically spending their time cranking out content for free or for whatever they can make from monetizing views or selling merch. Like actors, they are often holding down side jobs, hoping someday a company will hire them, in this case, to represent their product or service via a brand partnership. So when your first brand deal offer comes in, this is an exciting, rare, and special occasion. It's kind of like finally booking the commercial. For actors, you're suddenly not just an aspiring actor, you're a working actor. For influencers, you're not just a content creator, you're a paid creator. Your effort and talent are validated by capitalism and proximity to power, and a part of your rent is hopefully covered this month. So it's a legitimate milestone for many people. But how does it all work? Well, sometimes it starts with a DM, sometimes an email, sometimes you have an agent doing outreach on your behalf. Sometimes it's all a scam, but let's say a legitimate offer enters your space. If you respond with interest, then they'll usually send more info about the product you'll be advertising, the required content you have to deliver, the proposed fee for your services, and a contract with a bunch of terms. Similar to traditional media, there's often this sense of urgency, competition, and scarcity with these opportunities. So even if you don't love the product or align with the company's values, sometimes you don't know if any other deals are going to come in, or you only have a half day to make a decision before they give it to someone else. And frankly, sometimes creators just simply need the money to survive. So you may choose to move forward even if you're promoting neon nose breathing strips for $100 and they get to repost you wearing said neon nose strips across the internet for years to come. I hope you can come up with a clever bio for your dating app profile. Maybe like, I may not take your breath away, but I can help you breathe better. #nose strips. I don't know, drop some ideas below. Then you receive the contract. And I mean, anytime there's paperwork for anything, you should definitely read the fine print thrice. But this is a step that's nerve-wracking to think about for influencers because at least when you're acting in traditional media, you usually have an agent or a manager or entertainment lawyer who can help review the legal terms and spot the red flags or, negotiate a better rate or shave down the exclusivity. But for many influencers, and particularly parents who manage their kid influencers' account, they don't have teams. They're on their own. No buffer. And the contracts often have clauses around owning your content, blocking you from working with other brands, etc. There's an immediate power dynamic here, and many influencers sense the blessing and curse of finally being special enough to be chosen by such a big, powerful company, but also powerless to advocate for more reasonable terms. Because what are you going to do? Stand up to a menacing corporate legal team? Like Hollywood, the company will just discard you and pick someone else. Besides, many influencers are just so excited about the opportunity that it overpowers their discretion, so they sign and submit. Well, what's the impact? Here's where I want to introduce a larger ethical question that many, dare I say majority, of influencers don't ask. And I'm not claiming there's a right or wrong or easy answer either. But the question is, does an influencer have a responsibility when promoting products to the general population? For example, given their influence, should they first vet whether this product is good for people, good for the planet, safe to use, from a company that pays living wages? Are there responsibilities around using a platform wisely, considering how your content affects other people? And how can they do that well if the only deal flow is from companies who have dark shadows and the opportunities are last minute without much time to research or review contracts? And this is one of the few pathways to make this viable as a livelihood. And companies usually use a digital marketing liaison who, if you say no to them, may take you off the list for the other 60 companies they work for. Is it any human's responsibility, even if they were only trying to share videos of themselves doing cool trick shots in their backyard, to become a media-trained, politically and socially informed, ethical role model? Well, I know for a fact that a lot of influencers, just like a lot of humans across all industries, aren't giving this a single thought and wouldn't know a single thing about how to uphold this standard day in and day out. Nor would the circumstances of their lives allow for that. If you went to bed and suddenly gained 1 million followers, overnight you'd have to become a flawless stand-up human who somehow has time and resources and the willpower to be eco-friendly, well-researched and updated across all news, on the correct side of politics and social issues, good luck with that, available to crank out content nonstop, and impeccable with your decision-making all day, every day. Otherwise, people will attack and potentially cancel you. Well, actually, they're going to do that no matter what. See, the difference in this example is you're no longer Jim from work posting slightly crass opinions about a new brand of beer when you were a little buzzed. You're an influencer. Millions of people are being directly sold products with your supposed stamp of approval. And they'll never know if you just said yes because you needed the money to survive, or because you actually can't live without Olay's lotion for sensitive skin. Eczema is real. Well, I'm not here to tell anyone what they ought to value or decide. I just found myself carrying some of these questions with me when I first attended VidCon and Playlist Live, these digital creator conventions, to see what this ecosystem of influence was all about. There, I met hundreds of content creators who had tens of millions of followers each. Sadly, it was my experience that very few of them had ever even considered the word impact in relation to their content. Views and likes, yes, but impact? Maybe hearing that they wanted to inspire people, sure, but there wasn't a ton of thought around the details of that. I remember feeling stunned and disheartened as I watched rooms full of content creators, all holding up their cameras, filming themselves for their vlogs, hardly interacting with each other, unless, of course, they were trying to collaborate with another creator so they could cross-pollinate audiences for more views. Honestly, I wish you could have been there. It's surreal. Should I have been surprised, though? No. A lot of these creators were just normal high schoolers or college students from all around the country who went viral for something and then decided to keep making videos. It's not like they were necessarily trained artists or savvy business people or fully formed adults with a specific mission. It's not like they felt called to be a social advocate. Many were just kids at ages when having followers made them really cool at school, just like the turquoise streak in their hair. As for us other creators, weren't we all generally focused on using the digital space for our individual dreams and self-interest? Wasn't that the promise? If you can't make it in Hollywood, you can still make it online. I was at the conventions mostly for trendy dance and music videos, which, while I find music and dance to be some of the most beautiful things on the planet, it's not like it was necessarily trying to solve world problems. Is it so wrong for humans to make a living doing something they love? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, once millions of people are being affected by what you post, there may need to be some additional considerations. And it may be a really tall order that none of us can live up to. What happens when your content is shaping cultural trends for an entire generation? When sponsored content is furthering corporate monopolies? What human story do you want to be a part of telling? And do you always have a choice? What happens when you have to say yes, even if you didn't want to? These days, I have to say, it's been incredible to witness a ton of creators who really do care about serving and empowering communities, who are promoting helpful products and making a positive difference with their platforms. So I am not throwing everyone out, I promise. I follow so many folks who inspire me and educate me, and I'm so fortunate that they're sharing their expertise and life perspective for free. I've learned about social movements and causes. I've discovered artists who were overlooked by labels but clearly have something magical to share with the world. And yes, I love a cute cat video and meme too. Nonetheless, I want to name the reality that any kind of human now can have a microphone. We can't all be Mr. Rogers. And no one really knows what it's like to navigate a career as a creator or to live a day in anyone's shoes until we do. Life is complex and so many factors go into saying yes or no. I used to be incredibly strict about collaborations, and it honestly ultimately worked against the mission. It stifled the reach and impact, it cut off access to resources to keep it going, and I would have wound up empty-handed and unable to continue serving. Realistically, the companies who are usually big enough to have a budget to pay creators are rarely the ones who can also be eco-friendly, inclusive, and have a squeaky clean track record. So social media, whether we like it or not, is built on digital advertising, and if we expect free content from creators, they're gonna need sponsors, and you have to work with what's available. So my invitation to you is this. Can we find a reasonable balance between holding ourselves and others accountable while also honoring that aside from a very tiny percentage of people who legitimately only care about hoarding wealth, many humans are just doing their best to make it all work within a broken system? Perhaps we can focus on repairing the system itself. Now, that was a nice little tangent on impact, but like I mentioned, in the day-to-day buzz of the influencer space, most creators are just grinding to get the views and likes. Hamster wheels are not known for being the greatest places for deep contemplation and wisdom seeking. Let's talk about tactics that creators use to capitalize on your attention. Since brands measure the success of their influencer campaigns based on how well our videos perform and how many people click the link to purchase the product, we as influencers are under the pressure to do whatever it takes to make our videos get views and clicks. Therefore, in an attention-based economy, influencers are known to lean into attention-grabbing, sensationalized, clickbait formats just to mess with your psychology enough to keep you watching until it counts as a view. Sounds kind of manipulative, right? Also kind of mirrors our news media headlines, right? Well, this is the reality of influencer marketing. I could make a long video absolutely raving about Crest toothpaste, or I could do an impressive 10-second dance while smiling and add some text bubbles on the screen that mention how Crest helps me feel confident, and it would probably perform better. I know I'd rather watch a dance video than a straightforward testimonial. For years, I've wrestled with what it means to do brand deals with integrity. Like I said, I try to be mindful about finding companies who are generally aligned, or at least the campaign is something I find compelling. And then I try to genuinely provide an authentic review. And I do that with my creative storytelling skills. Sometimes I dance, sometimes I sing. I promise, if I'm advertising vegan cheese, I actually like the cheese. I have never lied about the cheese. Now, when I speak about brands in this way, I think it's easy to imagine them all as insidious and predatory, just like people picture Hollywood as being entirely slimy. But that's simply not true. When I'm working with each company, small or big, the individuals who are there are almost always really kind people just doing their job. Hardworking people with their own side hustles and dreams and families to provide for. So we're all trying to make ends meet while also trying to hold powerful companies accountable, while also trying to amplify the good stuff we believe in. And we have to check in with our own participation in this, whether we're the creator or the audience, and reflect on our daily choices about the content we post and consume, the purchases we make, how we vote or don't vote. Remember, if you don't like sponsored content, you could technically pay all the creators directly for the content you consume of theirs. But unless you're actually doing that, which sounds expensive and hardly anyone does, then ads are the dominant revenue model. All of us, creator and audience, contribute to reinforcing or challenging the current status quo. Even when you think you're innocently privately scrolling on your phone, where your attention goes, the algorithm and capitalism flow. So let's bring all of this into the reality of kidfluencing. I know it's taken a lot of patience to get here, but if I skipped these steps, would we have truly comprehended it in the same way? Exactly. So let us proceed to the land of kidfluencers. The kids on camera might be getting paid 5, 10, 20 grand to talk about a certain product in the video, and the kids at home are now begging their parents for the same matching outfit or toy.